Today we'll be ranking a few bug bounty resources that have helped me. By resources I mean basically just like online websites that have like courses or whatever, and I'll be using 3 kind of marketing schemes for these courses. It's good, bit of a different video than usual. I'm going to be just sitting here and ranking a few bug bounty resources that have helped me. I kind of got this idea recently because I was thinking, what's the best way to basically help someone improve in bug bounty, especially when they're kind of still a beginner. And I thought, basically let's refer them to a good resource, a good course or whatever, a good program that will actually deliver good results and that have helped me. So that's what I got this idea from. And I'll be ranking a few courses. So some of them are like bigger companies, some of them are smaller creators, ranking 5 in total. You can see them on the pages anyway. But I'll be using these kind of 5 metrics to rank them. So price, well, pretty self-explanatory. How much does it cost? What's the kind of stuff you're getting for the amount you're paying, whether it's a subscription or a one-time payment for some of them. Kind of evaluating like, how worth it is this, especially for someone who's just, starting out in bug bounty. Second metric is the bug bounty relevance metric. Maybe I should have called it impact or whatever, but anyway, it's basically how much it's going to impact you in bug bounty, how relevant it is for you actually going out and hacking these public bug bounty programs, with some of these platforms being sometimes more pen tester focused, and the split is a bit, it kind of overlaps, but it's not exactly the same. So I'm going to be reviewing basically what impact it had on my bug bounty journey. And then the last one is kind of a catch-all. It's a quality of life. Basically, like, how easy is the course to use? Do I have to download like random shite or whatever? Do I have to sign up to their program? Do I have to like use PortSwigger or something? And it's just kind of a metric that's going to grade kind of the quality of the course in general. So the first bug bounty resource, the one that a lot of people start off with, is HackTheBox. Basically, I'm going to be looking at the academy actually. So I'm not going to be looking at the more CTF type thing, the actual like, hacking a box. I'm going to be looking at the academy, which is more like learning focused. And I'll just pull it up here for you. So this is more or less what it looks like. It's basically just like modules where you can just select them yourself and you can just go through them. And basically once you like choose a module, okay, I want to learn about corporate recon or whatever. You go in, there's different sections. There's like usually interactive labs. So it just spawns like a IP address or whatever, and you can go connect to it. And then there's a bit of theory as well. And you like submit these like answers at the end of it. So like you have to submit like something like a flag or like answer some kind of questionnaire at the end of it. And that's kind of what it looks like. And in terms of this is mixed with like defensive stuff. So there's both like offensive and defensive labs here. So we're gonna just select the offensive ones obviously because we're not defending anything. And there's basically a lot of stuff. So this is also aimed at pen testers, so remember this. So stuff like Kerberos is probably not going to be very present if you're doing like bug bounty or whatever. And some of the other stuff like the Active Directory stuff, yeah, like Bloodhound or whatever, a lot of this you're probably not going to see a lot of in bug bounty, but some of it you are. And if we filter out some of the other ones, like let's go to tier 3 here. We'll go to something like tier 3. You'll see this one, which I've heard of, is pretty good. The modern web exploitation techniques, which is more like classic web security stuff like SSRF or IDOR or local file inclusion. So that's pretty cool. And in terms of price, I gave it a D-. The reason is because this is quite expensive. So if we go to wherever the pricing is, upgrade, I'll click on the upgrade or whatever, you'll see there's a free tier, which basically gives you nothing, and you can just unlock modules whenever you pay for them basically. There's a full subscription, which gives you all the way up to tier 2, and it's $490 a year. Now this doesn't include taxes, by the way, either. So you have to count in taxes because these are greedy American companies. God knows that taxes aren't part of the price. But the issue I have with this first plan is that basically most of the good courses are not included in it. So I would say like most of the good courses that I would want to do are in tier 3. Stuff like this deserialization, authentication mechanisms, game hacking, the stuff that I'm basically not going to get anywhere else. That stuff is locked behind the paywall, which is kind of annoying. So if you actually want to use this and get the nice courses, you'd probably have to get this gold annual subscription, which is 1,260. So that's pretty much like $100 per month, not even including taxes. So you can see that this is extremely expensive. Now, the other option is as well, you can get like these cubes or whatever and just unlock whatever modules you want to, which is probably better because most of these modules are, not going to be that great for bug bounty. That's basically what I did. So I just bought these like cubes or whatever and just unlocked whatever I wanted to. But, for like some of these courses, like let's go back to the library. Like if I wanted to say unlock that web security course, which was down here, it's like 500 cubes, right? So that's $50 without taxes. So that is still pretty heavy, and I do think that this is a very expensive place to start, especially if you're a beginner. Now, for bug bounty relevance, I give it a B-. Now, a lot of the courses on this HackTheBox platform are quite geared towards pen testers, and for that reason, it's not completely that relevant. But I did give it a higher ranking because there are courses that are very bug bounty heavy, because there's a lot of choice on this platform. This is a nice thing about this one, is that there's a lot of choice on it and you can pretty much just choose whatever you want to. So I gave it a B- just because of that reason. If you want to do the web security stuff, you can. If you don't want to do the other things, you don't have to, which is also why I recommend getting the cubes, because there's a lot less bug bounty courses than there are like defensive and weird pen tester courses as well. And for quality, I gave it an A, a solid A. Very good, honestly. The UI is quite clean. The whole spawn and everything, like you can get it just off the internet, which is pretty nice. There's only a few things that annoy me about this platform. Is one, you have to use a VPN for some reason to connect to the IPs. So you have to set up a VPN and it kind of slows your connection down as well. That's kind of annoying. And the second one is honestly like the typing in the answers is kind of a pain in the arse, because for some reason I think like you can't actually like move forward in the course until you like type in the correct answer. So sometimes like it's just a section that I just don't want to do, and like I'm there, then it forces you to like type this answer in. It's really annoying. So that's some of the grievances I have, but honestly it's still pretty solid, if not very expensive. So I probably wouldn't get this as a beginner, but if you want to do like one of the courses later on when you're doing a bit better, then I would actually recommend some of them. The next one is the good old favorite, which is the PortSwigger Labs. And obviously the price requires no explanation. It's free. It gets an A+. It's literally costs $0 to use, which is pretty insane. I'll give you a little rundown of it. You've probably seen it already, but I'll show it to you anyway. Basically, you just get like a load of these topic sections that you can do. You just create an account and then you can spawn in whichever one you want to. And honestly, this is very good. This is quite nice in terms of like quality. You just like, if once you have an account, you just like press one button and it spawns the lab in online for you, and you can literally just get it online. It's super good, and it's very surprising that this is free. Honestly, there's a lot of topics as well, and there's client side topics, there's server side topics, and there's more random stuff here as well. So it is a very solid lab, and I gave it a B+ for bug bounty relevance. A lot of the courses do cover a lot of web security, so this is a web security course, which does make it better than the HackTheBox one, because that one focused a lot more on pen testing stuff. The only thing I would say about PortSwigger is that, as a free lab, it's not going to be updated, that often, especially as some of the other paid stuff. So it is missing some of the more modern techniques for exploiting websites. You're not going to get things like client-side path traversals here. You're not going to be able to get the third-party integration vulnerabilities I talk about, because they kind of came up more recently, and they're also not that beginner focused either. So if you are starting to move into more advanced bug bounty concepts, then this is going to be lacking in a little bit of places. And there's also a huge focus on kind of old school vulnerabilities like SQL injections. I guess cross-site scripting is still pretty relevant, but a lot of stuff like, reflected cross-site scripting, stored cross-site scripting, these things. Whereas, nowadays we're sort of moving to this DOM cross-site scripting era. We're moving to, not CSRF, but we're moving towards client-side patch reversals. SQL injections are pretty rare in most modern software, unless you're hacking kind of legacy stuff. Then these type of vulnerabilities, they do exist. They absolutely do exist, by the way. You can't start hacking for them, but the way to find them is a little bit different now, and it is getting a lot harder, definitely. You're going to be fighting against browsers for stuff like CSRF now. You're going to have to start finding like same site bypasses, like subdomain takeovers and things like that. So it is definitely a lot harder. Things like clickjacking, a lot of this has just been kind of starting to get patched out by defense in depth in browsers. And the labs do get updated, definitely, but if you want like the very modern stuff, then I would recommend at some point investing in some of the paid labs that do get updated more frequently. And a second thing is as well, although this does have like actual sort of vulnerabilities, it's kind of modeled on it. It's not like exactly like some of the things, especially like the easy labs or whatever, are going to be kind of made up scenarios, whereas some of the other programs I'm going to talk about later are more modeling actual vulnerabilities. Still, this is very solid. I give this a B plus. Honestly, it's very good. Maybe I should have given it an A, honestly, but yeah, it's honestly a very solid program from PortSwigger, and we love this. For quality, I give this an A. I mean, it was very good. Everything's online. Everything is, you don't have to like do any VPNs. You don't have to download anything, which is very good. So that's very good for quality. The labs themselves are clearly very well made. They're, well coded. You can see everything. You can even log in as every user. The mystery labs are really good, where it just chooses a random lab for you as well. That's honestly really awesome, and it really plays into that kind of bug bounty thing where you don't really know what vulnerability there is, if there's a vulnerability at all. So it does add a little bit of that kind of bug bounty element to it. The only thing about it is if you're planning to do the SSRF labs, you unfortunately have to have Burp Suite Premium for it, which is why I didn't give this an A+, because that's kind of annoying. And if you're doing like the mystery labs, then you pretty much can't do the SSRF ones. I was doing it once and I got like a random SSRF lab and I couldn't do it, which is very annoying. But yeah, apart from that, it's honestly a very solid thing. If you're a beginner, definitely start here. Literally requires no investment and you still get a decent bit of the bug bounty skills. So very solid there. Next program is PentesterLab, and this is honestly my favorite one. This is definitely one of my favorites, and I'll just show it to you here as well. So basically you have like these badges on this program here. You can come here and you can like select from a number of different badges. So we'll check like the white one, for example. And basically they start scaling up. So obviously they introduce you to some of the easier vulnerability types. But then really, as you get down to some of these like brown ones, the vulnerabilities can get very difficult because this is modeled off real vulnerabilities. So basically what the person that makes this does is he just reads up like CVEs and like write-ups, and then he just basically makes labs based off it, which is pretty cool. And yeah, he basically makes labs off it and then he lets us solve it. So this works off like real frameworks. This is using like real programs like Spring actuators. That's the JSP stuff, the JavaScript server pages. It's based off these kind of real programs and real vulnerabilities that came up with them. So it's very applicable to bug bounty, and I've really enjoyed doing this. It's really challenging as well. So honestly, it does really train you to be determined in that way. In terms of the costs, basically it costs I think around $20 a month for 1 month subscription. If you get the yearly subscription, you can get it for $17 per month as well. That's honestly pretty solid. It's not the cheapest course. Obviously, PortSwigger is free, so that's a lot better. And I think Try Hack Me is cheaper as well. But for the amount of content you're getting and for the great quality of the labs, I think it is definitely very worth it. For $20, you get it for 1 month. You can use it for a while. If you get the yearly one, you have it for a long time, and it's definitely still a lot cheaper than HackTheBox. So I do think it's worth it. You get one subscription, you get everything for $20. It's not like sectioned off or whatever. So I think it's definitely well worth it. I think this is something that I would get once I kind of start doing the PortSwigger labs. I start doing a lot of those things. Then I'd move on to PentesterLabs after I'd put down the $20 and I'd start, trying to find these actual vulnerabilities. And, for quality, I gave it an A+. there was pretty much like nothing wrong with this. It's honestly very good. You just press one button, you get a HTTPS URL online, you go onto it, and you can just start hacking straight away. So there was no issue with this. Even for the client side labs, I actually really enjoyed them as well because, unlike some of these other ones where like, the client side labs are always a bit weird, this one, you literally just press a button and the victim actually like visits your website like in real time, like it visits your website, and then you can literally just hijack their session straight away. That's very realistic in terms of how client-side labs go, and I really enjoy that aspect of it as well. Sometimes it was a little bit buggy. Now I will say sometimes it did bug out. Sometimes the HTTPS was a little bit broken as well, but they have really started to fix this, and I did really enjoy doing these courses, and it definitely helped me become better at bug bounty. I think I might have skipped this bug bounty relevance one, but basically, modeling real vulnerabilities, that's about as close to real bug bounty you can get. Modeling, these RCs or whatever and just doing them. It also kind of trains your like discipline and grit basically on these programs because, modeling the vulnerability is hard and it can take a little bit of time as well. So I think it is very good for bug bounty. One kind of annoying bit about this though is that the creator of this really likes Ruby for some reason. And all the solutions to the labs, like whenever there's like a bit of exploit code you have to write, they're all written in Ruby, which for someone like me, I don't really like Ruby that much. So, that was a tiny bit frustrating whenever I would always see the Ruby code. But if you can get around that and you like Ruby, then this is perfectly fine as well. Anyway, next section is the creator courses. So these are courses made by other YouTubers. So previously I covered courses from like bigger companies, basically these kind of conglomerates like PortSwigger, HackTheBox or whatever. This is going to be covering YouTuber courses basically, so that I found on YouTube and I bought. So we're going to be looking at that. And the first person, a very well-known bug bounty YouTuber, is NahamSec, and he released like a course. It used to be, I think, on Udemy, but he switched it to his own platform, which is Hacking Hub. I'll just show it to you here. I won't show the inside of it because, it's paid or whatever, but this is like, it was called like NahamSec's bug bounty course. And, inside of it, basically, it's very similar to all the other bug bounty courses where you just get like different sections. Then like you click on like a particular one, you can set up a lab, it's online, and you can basically just hack it there. And I think it's like a kind of CTF as well, where you kind of get a flag at the end of it. And then you can go in. So you can see this is $120, but I actually bought this on a sale and I got it for about $50. Now, I assume he doesn't do sales all the time. So if you buy it on the sale, honestly, the price is like an A. But if you get it off the sale, it's probably like a B or maybe even a C plus, because $120 is pretty steep. But you probably aim to get it on a sale. So I kind of just got the average of it and I said the price was a B plus. So that's what we'll say. And this is one time. So this isn't a subscription. So PentesterLab was a subscription, and HackTheBox, if you get the subscription one, then it's going to be recurring payment. This one actually isn't. So this one is you just buy it once and you have it forever, which is pretty nice for a course because you can come back to whenever you want to. And yeah, it was pretty good, I have to say. But one of the kind of annoying things that I didn't like about this course was that it's called NahamSec's Bug Bounty Course, but most of the recordings and most of the labs are actually not made by him. A lot of them are actually made by this guy called Adam Langley, who is like a guy who makes different courses for Try Hack Me, HackerOne, and whatever the hell Hacker House is. Now, I'm sure this guy has a lot of qualifications himself, and he's probably a good hacker, but if I'm buying a course called NahamSec's Bug Bounty Course, I would kind of hope that the creator is actually making the videos inside of it. Because if I wanted to buy a course from Adam Langley, I'd buy Adam Langley's bug bounty course. But I kind of wanted to have NahamSec teaching this because that's kind of who you were following online. So that's kind of the main annoying thing about this course, is that, the creator himself wasn't actually teaching. Like, he actually was teaching some of the sections, so he wasn't doing like none of them at all, but a lot of them are done by his friend here. And in terms of the content, this was actually pretty good, and I have to give him credit where credit's due. He updates this course very regularly, so I came back to this just to see what it was before recording this video, And there was a lot of new sections that came up, like these client-side patch reversal sections that I haven't seen. He's added new labs to some of them. He's expanded the course like a decent bit. So I have to give him credit for a one-time payment course to be still updating it is pretty impressive in my opinion. So I have to give him credit there. The course has a lot of content. For $120, it is a lot of content. And in terms of the bug bounty, and I gave him like a C++. I couldn't give him a B minus, even though I kind of wanted to give him a B minus, but the reason is because a lot of this is kind of an introduction to bug bounty. A lot of it is like intro, like starter stuff, and maybe it was just my perception, but I bought this course when I was doing quite well in bug bounty already. I'd made a few bounties myself, and I bought this course to try and kind of get better at it, but I found that a lot of it was just the intro stuff, the beginners kind of things, which I didn't really like, because I think for bug bounty, if you're at the point where you're buying a course, you probably already got at least like one or two bounties like under your belt. I don't really see the need to give these introduction courses to people unless it's like a specialized platform. Like if it's PortSwigger, fair enough. Okay, they probably have to have some beginner stuff. If it's PentesterLab, I can see them putting in beginner stuff here, although they don't actually have a lot of beginner stuff here, but I can see them putting in some like fundamentals or whatever. Like you can see here, I mean, it's probably fine because it's like a bigger company and there's probably beginners actually joining here. But for a YouTube course, most people who buy your course are not going to be beginners. So I don't really see the need to put that much intro stuff in it. And a lot of it was intro stuff. Not all of it, by the way. There was definitely some very good stuff in here, but some of it was. That's why I gave him like a C++, where some of the stuff did help me. Like his file upload stuff was great. His recon is very good. The SSRF labs were pretty well made. I just wish there was a less focus on beginners in these courses. And then for quality, honestly, I can't really complain about anything here. The only thing I can complain about is him not actually recording a lot of the course, which is why I didn't give him an A+. But most of it, just online, you just read that the guides are fine, the intros are fine. The one thing is, I think I remember the client-side labs, you have to like basically do it yourself. It's not like a thing where it's not like Playwright or anything. There's not like Puppeteer there. You have to actually like basically exercise yourself for this to work, which is kind of annoying. But all in all, it was fine. This is a solid course as well. I don't know if I'd pick it up now, to be honest, but it's getting regularly updated. So if you get it on a sale, honestly, probably worth the $50 you're going to spend on it. Maybe you'll learn a few things. So pretty solid as well. The next one is this guy called, Bug Bounty Reports Explained. And he made these like case studies on his YouTube channel, but he got like a topic, like some kind of vulnerability class in bug bounties, and he would make like a huge like data set off it, and he would basically talk about like how people actually get paid from this stuff, which is a pretty cool concept. I'll give that to him. And he made a course off it. Unfortunately, I wanted to show you guys this course, but it's gone. Like I don't really know where it went. So honestly, in general, this guy kind of just vanished. Like he just vanished off the face of the earth like last August. If anyone knows what happened to him, then please leave a comment, because I've been trying to find out where this guy went. Like I used to watch him like weekly, basically. He used to put out these podcasts and stuff. I used to go to the gym and like watch his videos, and then he just vanished. So God knows what happened to him. I hope nothing bad happened to him. That'd be very unfortunate. But if he just, stopped posting or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, his course is down now, so you can't see it. That's kind of annoying, because it was like a one-time payment course that I was kind of hoping to have forever, but I guess we don't have it anymore. But in terms of the grade, the price, I gave him a C minus. Now I'm going to have to go off memory here because I couldn't review it again, but I believe I paid about $250 for these case studies, which is fairly steep for this one-time payment course. And considering that it didn't have any like labs, it was kind of just like a data set. That's kind of all it was. And, it was just a bit of bar charts and stuff. So, in terms of price, it was pretty expensive. I get that it probably took a lot of work for him to collect all this stuff and, document it and whatever. I guess that is fair as well. There's a counter argument there. However, I still think that you can get better value of some of the other courses. But I kind of just bought this because I was interested in it and I wanted to see what kind of things he's collecting. And to be fair, it was quite interesting, but I'll talk about it in a minute. And yeah, in terms of price, pretty steep. But, you can argue that it's worth it. Anyway, for the bug bounty relevance, I give this a B. Now, again, there's no hands-on stuff here. It's literally just, theory and waffle. But it did actually kind of help you see where people are actually getting paid from in terms of, looking at these reports and stuff. The report list is actually very well organized. The ones he gave, he showed very nice reports. A lot of them don't exist on like HackerOne or whatever. They're not from Hacktivity. They're from like personal blogs that he's collected, which is very impressive. Some of them are even archived. Like some of them he like got deleted and he went back to like the archive list and he found them again, which props to him for that, and it does show you kind of what he's getting paid from. A lot of the early Hacktivity videos, by the way, I made in this channel, a lot of them I actually just used some of his data sets and I just identified basically what the most interesting ones are, and I just talked about them because he has done a good job of collecting this, and it did actually help me see, especially in stuff like GraphQL, kind of see what worked for other people, these account takeover bugs, and I did enjoy reading it in my spare time. So I gave this a B. It probably did help me in bug bounty, and it was one of the first courses I bought, so I assume it has contributed somewhat to my success. So I gave this a B, just kind of missing more hands-on stuff, but pretty decent. For quality, I gave this an A+, because with you just reading a text file, there's not really much to be there. It's well written. Bar charts look pretty nice. Again, the data set is very well organized. You can filter by things. It shows you like they have like labels for some of the things, like how the vulnerability was found, like what context was it in. It shows exactly how much they were paid, like the target. So pretty well put together in my opinion. Solid course. However, now I guess I have to reduce this to an F because I just can't access it again. So I guess now post deletion it's an F, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be back at some point. Who knows? I don't know what happened to this dude, but if you know, please leave a comment in the description. But yeah, that's it for this video, and I hope you did enjoy some of my ramblings about these bug bounty resources, and hopefully this will help you select the ones that actually will help you. All of these courses can work for different types of people. I showcased the ones that worked for me, but some of them are worth trying out. Some of them might be worth trying out once you earn a bit of money. Well, definitely in terms of my recommendations, I would definitely start from PortSwigger. Once you finish up PortSwigger, or kind of want to move on to something that's going to be a bit more challenging, I would move on straight to PentesterLab. And then if you want to collect some extra knowledge, if you're starting to implement some of these techniques and you want some more knowledge, you can use HackTheBox for more specialized labs. I would put in like $50 worth of those cubes and just buy one of them that you think is interesting. And then I would get these 2 creator courses if you want to kind of learn about what's working for these creators, basically see what kind of content they're putting in there, what kind of vulnerabilities they're hunting for, because most of the creators are going to model the course based on what vulnerabilities they're finding. So that's basically the main incentive of buying their courses. And you can buy this course basically if you want, you actually can't buy it again, so I guess it's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.